this is it. I mean, you talk about lazy. It's not paralysis. You know, when someone's being attacked by a cobra on cold, the animal can go into a state of paralysis. It's called being enthralled, right? And then the state control. The population is sort of enthralled, like the cobra's dancing in front of them, and they say, "Oh, what's on YouTube?" Right? It's a worry, right? Once you don't have that nonsense of paying $600 and worrying if your crop's going to be compliant, people will be more inclined to plant big areas, right? But then, so what? The big issue is what we're going to do with it, right? And then you have to sort of nominate in advance. My personal bias, right, is that we should actually lead the hemp industry with hemp seed, because I mean most of my medical practice, or most of my focus on that, has been in dietary manipulations, right? I mean, diet can't fix everything, but without diet you can fix nothing. There's no doubt about that, right? And there's been a lot of accent on the endocannabinoid system and cannabis as a way of stimulating the endocannabinoid system. I'm preaching in the wilderness that if you don't eat the right lipids, you don't have an endocannabinoid system, right? Do you want to hear this? This is really important for your health and all that, if I can make this point. It's not quite on topic, but that doesn't matter.
Andrew, can I interrupt you just for a second? Robbie was also scheduled to be in this panel. Can he wants to introduce his pyrolysis thing that was a part of this discussion group. Can he get involved in that now, please? Yeah. And to fit in Yes.
Maybe we can get the mics going.
Yes.
As well.
Yes. I just fit it in.
Maybe we can get the mics going as well if you want. Move in a bit.
In the sun.
Join in. Yeah. So you go. Right.
Do you want some microphones?
Yeah. Please. It's interesting. This is a genius in pyrolysis. He's really. His invention.
Would you like the microphones on?
Or at least I want to be able to.
We'll make it power.
Yeah, I can't hear you. Need a microphone.
Hey, would you like to go through the PA?
Do I need to? It's not.
Yeah, you're free.
It'll just be better for the videos that we're uploading. That's all. We'll be able to hear people better.
Yeah.
It's up to you. It doesn't bother me.
No, it doesn't. Oh God, I'm going to change the world. You change it one person at a time. We'll start with the line. Okay, look, your body is made out of cells, right? The cell membranes are made out of lipids, right? There's a mixture of lipids. Basically, there's omega-3. I don't want this to see. I'm really simplifying this, but it's all accurate, right? In really simple terms, the omega-6 makes the membranes less fluid, and the omega-3 makes the membranes more fluid. At the end of the day, cytokines, which are chemical messengers, are made from those. This is the interesting thing about the endocannabinoid system, is that the messengers, you know, the anandamide, the bliss molecule, you all heard of that? No? Okay. I don't want to get too much into the endocannabinoid system, but that's the intrinsic system controlling the body, right? It operates by sending out messengers, and the chemical messenger was named anandamide, which is called bliss in Sanskrit, right? But my point of view, we're talking nutrition. The anandamide is made by some. See, the cell is not meant to have a brain, but it's really fascinating that the endocannabinoid system operates down at the membrane level, but no one knows how it's controlled. See, the books say it produces anandamide when needed from the cell membrane, you know, just sort of fudging the question of how the endocannabinoid system is controlled. But the important system is whether it works at all, right? Now, say your cell membrane has an excess of omega-3, right? The mitochondria, which are the most active of our cell membranes, that's where all the metabolism takes place, fail. And if you've got too much antioxidants on board, you're eating junk food, you're not having enough coloured fruits and vegetables, your membranes are then attacked by the oxidation, and you end up with cancer. Right? That's one of the pathways to cancer. But on a long background, you have chronic inflammation, because the omega-6 makes inflammatory cytokines, right?
Sorry, I just want to say something that's really important for what you're saying. If you look at Nikola Tesla, I follow Nikola Tesla quite a lot. He's quite a smart guy. And here, what is exactly talking about? You talk about the golden ratio, 3, 6, 9. Have you heard there? There's 3s, there's 6s, there's 9s.
No, that's sort of, you can play with numbers, but don't just play with numbers. Like, firstly, omega-9 is not an essential
It's all part of the life.
It's derivative. Look, numbers are funny, and the geometry applies funny, but we're just talking chemistry at the moment.
Say before the excess of omega-3.
No, the deficiency of omega-3 and an excess of omega-6, right? In healthy life, you should have a 1 to 3 ratio. That's the sort of in balance. You need a fair amount of omega-6. You need more omega-6 than omega-3. But if you get too much, if your ratio is out by even a little bit, like a 4 or 5, people on junk food diets, a standard American diet, can have a 1 to 10 ratio. But they age really quickly. Right? It's all about keeping your biological age well in front of your chronological age, well behind your chronological age, right? You have to feel younger than what you are. And that's just a product of how much oxidation and the balance of omega-3 and 6, right? So the critical issue in the short term for me is nutrition. Like, our kids are getting very good brain development, right? I mean, the electromagnetic smog that they live under, the deficiency of omega-3, not only from birth, but from the mothers. Right? See, a lot of things like, in my experience, things like hyperemesis gravidarum in pregnancy taking vomit, is because when the fetus starts, it's a parasite, and it sucks in all that omega-3 can get its hands on, leaving an acute deficiency in the mother. We found if you treat them before conception with high-grade long-term hemp seeds, we'll talk about that too, you can prevent that. Certainly you can prevent postnatal depression. Right? That's really interesting that there's a very close correlation between what you eat and what your mood is. Alright? So, coming back to that, there are not many good sources of omega-3 in the world. Right? The common ones are flax, and that's got its own issues. People talk about anti-nutritional effects and things like that. It's not. I use flax sometimes. Chia is an excellent one, and it's now grown locally in Australia. Chia actually has more omega-3 than omega-6. There's only 2 things, flax and chia, the only ones that do that. Hemp has a ratio of 1 to 3, right? That means if you eat it long term, it's all you have, you're in good balance. But if you start off at, say, 1 to 5, and you're eating a 1 to 3 in source, it takes ages to catch up. So the way we treat that, we give people the hemp seed plus the chia seed, right? Now the reason we don't just give them more chia seed is a hemp seed has what we call cofactors to help you absorb the omega-3 and make use of it, right? What can I say? The Pacific Ocean and probably all the fisheries in the world, they're not just collapse immediately. I mean, there's some healthy populations, but the plastic contamination are acting like a birth control pill in the ocean. There's a lot of weird development, what I'm told, about the genetics. So a lot of the world gets its omega-3 from seafood. Right? But if the yields from the seafood go down, where do we go next, right? People don't know, in 1820 or 1821 there was a famine in the colonies of New South Wales. The people were going to starve, but they had some hemp growing because it was going to be a hemp colony. This is how this place, you can ask John Jiggins about it, he's written a book about it. The idea was to set up a colony to grow hemp and make sails for the sailing ships because it was a really essential part of the whole thing. Have you all seen the $1 Billion Crop, the doco? Hey? Who has seen it, just for interest? Yeah. 2, 3, okay, that's really sad. Yeah, anyway, I mean, it's a bit dated now because back in the 90s, we were really thinking we'd be a lot further advanced. Coming back to what's holding up the hemp industries, right? One of the big things is a lack of appreciation of the importance and indeed the essential nature of omega-3 in the diet, right? Especially for mothers and babies, right? I mean, I'm not breaking anybody news here. It's essential to do that because without healthy children, you won't get healthy children out of unhealthy mothers. Right? And for that matter, dads too have to donate their little contribution. That has to be healthy. Hemp seed, I mean, I consider it the single most nutritious food source that there is in terms of balance, right? My usual little spiel says it's got more protein than steak, It's got more omega-3 than seed food, right? It's got more B group vitamins and whole grains. It's got more minerals than most other foods. What do you want, right? You can grow it without herbicides or pesticides, and you can grow it as a very profitable crop. So, that should speak for itself, but it doesn't, because even now the hemp seeds are on the market. They're stuck in plastic bags on some shelves.
A lady in Queensland's making a product of hemp seed, and she called it puckered up and seed. She said,
It's what?
a lady in Queensland has a product she called puckered up. Betty Tucker, the find around here.
Yeah, there's lots of
It uses the seeds as well, like you're saying, exactly for that reason, because of the benefits of it. You're right.
It should, as far as I'm concerned, be a staple for everyone, young and old, right? I mean, the health bills in this country, have people looked at the graph of what we're spending on so-called health? It's not health, it's looking after old strokes, massive heart attacks, catastrophes, amputations, diabetes. We're in a health crisis, which is draining not only the vitality of the population, but the wealth of the country as well. A country like America is spending as much on health care as our own military now. Right? It's just bizarre. I'm getting atrocious outcomes. We're not doing anyone a favour. Coming back to the industry, right? One of the big problems with seed production, hemp seed production, is that there's not a range of suitable machines at different scale. There are some machines that work called headers. And they're usually great big machines with sort of 6 metre type throats on them, and they'll cost sort of $500,000 or more. And it's a big undertaking, and you don't really have a header of that size unless you've got a massive area to cultivate. So doing it by hand, and I've done it by hand, I don't recommend it. Right? It might be good for your soul, but that's really rough on your shoulder. Thrashing the seeds out of the crops in 2 men working for 8 hours, a header could do what we've done in 20 minutes. It's not the way it works. So what we want to do now, as a way of facilitating small-scale seed production, so people can have an industry, say they've got 10 hectares or 5 hectares or something like that, they can have an industry producing the seed as your primary yield. Right, because the primary yield is important. Because it should be possible to make a living just out of the hectares of hemp seed. Right? It's a valuable crop, especially if ever the population becomes educated as to why they should be eating it. Right? I mean, we need, it's really bizarre the way, what you call Fruit Loops have a bigger advertising budget than hemp seed. Right? Diet Coke can be on a billboard, never seen a hemp seed. We're living in a fool's paradise. Okay, coming back to practicalities. We've got a 3-year project, which I hope will come to fruition within the time frame. We want to develop a low-cost, low-weight machine. We call it a hemp seed cone. Right? For the farmers, they already know this, but I'll tell you, hemp is a bit of a bugger to harvest for a number of reasons. If you're harvesting the seed, they're all on the heads on the top of the plant. Right? The problem is, at any one stage, some of the seeds have already fallen out of the head and they're off the ground. Some are just right and some are green. So you have to cut, you have to estimate when the maximum ripe seeds are. And you lose a huge amount of seed, right? There's no doubt about that. Also too, and it can become a real problem, birds love the hemp seed like you wouldn't believe. That's all very cute if it's your budgie, but when you've got 10,000 seed-eating birds attacking your crop, it's really, really upsetting, right? You can't grow it under nets, it's just not practical. So the way to become away with it is this. With the machine that we're designing, instead of doing a one-off harvesting of the seed by cutting the plants, you actually go through the crop and cone out the hemp seed that are ripe. Right, so for instance, you first see the birds coming out, tomorrow I'll put the cone through the crop, you take out the ripe seed, the birds go away. You've then got ripe seed clean and dry without all the need for virgin drying and packing and things like that. A week later, you run the cones through again, and a week later again. At the end of that time, you've got the flowers minus the seed. If you want, you can strip them if that's what you're doing. Otherwise, you leave the plants standing up to wet. If you leave them on the ground to wet, they often get contaminated and they're not so suitable for textile use. And then you can harvest them at your leisure through the winter or whenever you want. It's a major advantage over just going through the crop and cutting it, right? Because if you've got 5-10 hectares in a slightly remote area, no one's going to put a header for that small amount. But with a truck portable hemp cone, an easily truck portable hemp cone, that becomes achievable. Right? And it's also achievable at the price we're trying to get, that a reasonable farm of 10, 20 hectares would justify having their own machine and then even renting it out to partners and users. Anyway, that would be a major development as far as I'm concerned. We'll see what happens in the future. My personal view is the politics are going to overtake us in the next couple of years. I don't know what everyone thinks, but my view is that we're teetering on a financial collapse of the Western world. There's no doubt about that. The only thing the Western world excels at is bullshit, like covering up what's happening. Right? And we're not sure to what degree there'll be real political oppression, right? Control through finance, all sorts of things. I'm still very enthusiastic about the hemp industry because I hope at some stage we'll have a government that actually works with us. And the proposal we're putting to them, and it's a proposal that should be carefully listened to, is this. To get an industry, you have to prime the pump, right? It can't just evolve by itself. There are a lot of little things, but it won't coalesce into something serious. And to do something like hemp textiles, you can't do it as a cottage industry. You really have to use modern machinery. You know, to have the volume that'll make a difference to anyone, where you can put the hemp clothes on a rack at the same price as polyester and things like that. What our proposal is that the government sets up a buyback scheme for hemp fast fibre. So the only technology that we needed for the farmer is a basic decortication. That's a relatively simple thing, although they've got technical issues. But a decorticator is not a complicated machine. It's set rollers and other machines that separate the herd from the farmer, right? Then we want the government to buy back the vast each year at an agreed price for quality first, second and third. We divide into quality and warehouse it for 3 years. That will encourage the farmers to grow because there's a fixed price. They did this in Brazil with sugarcane and converting it into alcohol, and it worked really well. Right? They've got a gasohol industry that produce their fuel from sugarcane. But the government gave them a leg up. During the wool industry's crisis, the government bought back the wool, supported the industry. We want them to buy back the hemp fibre, warehouse it while the factories are being built. They have to appreciate we're actually in a crisis. Right? What's happening, we're in a crisis. Everything we've done is wrong. The mining, the plastics, everything is wrong. The chopping down of trees. You know, China has planted 18 billion trees in the last 20 years. How many have we planted? We would have chopped down that number. 18 billion trees. You've seen what they're doing in the deserts, the reclamation work. You know, we're looking like the retarded bloody country bumpers.
Also,
That's
they're choking from poison.
what?
They're choking from their own poison in China. The shit that we do sort of like.
They're making improvements. Right? I mean, everyone goes through a dirty phase, like the British, they had that sort of filth and all the rest of it during their industrial thing. But no, my attitude is that they're really going out of their way to clean up. You know, they've also started, I don't know if anyone knows, the Chinese are now running the world's first thorium nuclear reactor. You ever heard of that thorium nuclear reaction? It's the perfect solution to the world's energy issues. Right, at the large scale, not the small scale, but the large scale. It's a completely safe nuclear process. It doesn't generate waste. And in the long term, it can be used to combust the warheads. Right, so now there's so many warheads. You can put them into a thorium reactor and actually extract energy while you degrade them down to base metal. But, you know, this was worked out in 1948, but the Americans suppressed it. And now the Chinese are sort of rising up and expressing their own preference for how the world should be. That's the way I see it. But that was very encouraging. Because thorium can actually, look, 1 tonne of thorium has as much extractable energy as 20 tonnes. Get me wrong. 20 tonnes of, 1 tonne versus 200 tonnes of uranium or 3 million tonnes of coal. You can extract a lot more energy from the thorium. But it's not actually nuclear, it's not radioactive, it's what you call radiofertile, meaning it needs an external source to get it going. So if that stops, the process stops. See, the other way, the uranium needs an active process to cool it down. If that stops, that goes up. Right? It's just obvious. Okay? It's obvious. Anyway, that's all I want to say. There's a lot of things holding us up. Hopefully, they won't all be dominant. Right? We'll see what happens on it. The future's going to be. I've spent a lot of time preparing family and things like that, making gardens, all the rest of it. anyone who's not doing that, I don't think they're thinking clearly.
And by the way, Andrew grew this particular buds with an old guy called Alan in Newcastle. So I went there one day and these two old blokes digging big holes. Thinking, what the fuck is wrong with this picture? Where's the young people? You know. Quite true too. But so that's so all the buds I'm carrying around actually Andrew is part of that.
That's right. Is there any questions?
A good way for you to spread the word is for you to go on Gardening Australia, Costa.
Costa, we're both Greek, and my wife's got some family connection with him, so I've spoken to Costa. He sadly admitted to me, he said, look, I'm just a paid clown, I don't have a free will in this. I can't go and do a pro-pod thing, I'll throw me out, sort of thing.
No, I meant all the industry, not the...
Yeah, I know, look, we've been on landline.
And the way you speak about growing it and you know...
They don't want us to have a microphone. You know, this is the whole thing.
I think they will one day. Everything's moving that way, with everything. I think it's all moving towards that way. I mean, Costa now talks about, growing the forests and having all the animals and birds and
You're talking about it. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, no, but that spreads. A lot of people watch it, Gardening Australia,
But
the mainstream of it.
Bob Hawke launched Billion Tree Initiative. Remember that one? How many trees have been planted?
But there's still, at least...
Yeah, I know what you're saying, mate.
About it,
But look, people who watch TV aren't going to change the world. That's my experience. You're sitting there watching Costa, you're not going to change the
I get
world.
inspired by it.
Okay.
And see, he shows people
Yeah, I'm not
doing stuff.
But he sadly admitted to me he did what he was told and he had to be a bit of a clown about paying his salary.
Yeah, I think it's changing though in the future.
Okay.
Just like you said, politics is changing. I think it will come to a point where you can do it on his show on TV and mainstream will be going, wow, like you're wowing us now.
Well, you hope so.
Yeah.
But I did approach Costa, so I hadn't been it some years ago.
Yeah, that
And I might be
years
thinking
ago,
I'm
but
fair to
things
it.
are changing.
But you can still inspire people, I agree, that to, like,
Hey,
do things
with that wine
and
chap,
plant
you were
trees,
talk.
look at the forest,
I've been in.
and open
That's
up
why
what's happening. I agree. I'm going to touch. Yeah, well, when you talk about the government and other places that you always say they, who are actually they?
The faceless bastards that run the world behind I mean, they're an unknown corporate entity, things I don't talk. As soon as someone mentions the word Illuminati, I walk away from the conversation. Because there's a Buddha saying those who know do not say, those who say do not know. I don't know who they are, right? I know it's not the fuckwits in the Macquarie Street or the Canberra, right? They're just the little puppets, right? They are a faceless corporate entity of unknown identity. They're making decisions, right? You can talk about the Bilderberg Group, you can talk about all these
No, I'm not talking about that. I'm just saying that possibly that maybe if you hold specific people accountable for their actions, they would then get rid of their puppets, like. So if you just go through the process, because there is a guy in Canada, he started going after particular competitions, particular CEOs and stuff like that, and they keep resigning. So possibly if you get rid of the puppets.
Okay, I'll tell you where Australia's up to. This isn't related to Canada, it's sort of related to Canada. So I'm in court next October. They're trying to put me in jail because I've breached what they call Section 105 Suppression Act. Right? This government in New South Wales and in Australia generally leads the world in illegal seizures of children to foster homes with economic exploitation of the foster system. Right? Now where am I going with that? They put in place a suppression law, 105, to totally prohibit the saying of the name of any child that they stole. 7 years ago, 5 cops and 2 dogs workers broke into our clinic at Newcastle and tried to dispossess us of one of our patients, but we physically resisted them. They brought in 22 riot squads with tasers and other things, and we were sort of basically hauled out of the clinic, and they took the child. Right? The next day we started a Facebook group. We got 500,000 people on board, and it became a controversy, and we eventually got the child back. But because we said his name, myself and Pastor Paul have been the first people charged under this new law, which suppresses that. We live in a dead-shit police state, right? Most of the stuff that goes on the surface is all right, but they are running an industry at the court level. The police are involved, including the ANP, right? You know, these people aren't nice people. The they part of it, look, it depends on your philosophy. At the metaphysical level, at the higher level, there may be some entity that's direct with this, I don't know, or just evil bastards doing what they do. That's beyond my knowledge, but I know the reaction, I know what the consequence is. We live in you can't call it society, we live in a police state that steals children using medical lies and bullshit doctors and things like that, and then completely suppresses anyone talking about it. Right? I'm not into that. Right? That's why I preach and I'll continue to preach it. And one of our actions at the court is going to be publicly breaching the act over and over. You know, you want to prosecute us, I'll give you reason to prosecute us. We'll see where that goes. You can visit me at Park Creek. No, we're going to win that one. We've got a jury trial, and the ACO, I haven't finished. They make it a strict liability offence. This is an extra act of malice. Has anyone heard that legal phrase, strict liability? They've removed a reason for doing anything. So say we made a noise about Chase because they stole it from his loving mother, right? But strict liability means it doesn't matter if you did it because you're protecting the child. See, there's a thing called self-defense of another. I've used that in medical necessity, self-defense of another, right? Which you can defend yourself and defend another in the same way. But, what was I saying? Yeah, it's pretty simple.
I used to be a foster mother, and that's exactly why I got out of it.
Yeah.
They made me jail kids with, or give them ADHD medication where they didn't need it. And they threw me out.
The problem is, look, kids in the minister's care, this is here and now, this isn't theoretical or historical or anything, this is here and now. Kids in the minister's care have something like a 300% increase in death, right, in the women. STDs, unwanted pregnancies, a lot of the kids are just not known where they are. When they took Chase, the little boy, he's a 4-year-old with cerebral palsy from an allergic reaction from vitamin K injections, which his mother had asked him not to give. Leaving that to one side, right? What was that? I lost that train of thought. What was I talking about?
Strict confidentiality.
Oh no, that's strict liability, that's what I was talking about, yeah. If you do something to help something, it doesn't matter with strict liability. So the police think they've got us, you know, because it's strict liability. It's the only strict liability law. That's why they don't have a child suppression. Right? But we've got a trump card, and that's for jury nullification. Has anyone heard of that one? I ran a sort of a jury nullification, or tried to run a jury nullification in 2005 in Newcastle, when I'd been sort of arrested for 40,000 flat crop. And the judge then basically bullied the jury, and I didn't have the sort of technical skills to counter it. But in the second trial for medical necessity in 2018, we knew about nullification and we brought it up and we put it before the jury, and I was acquitted in 20 minutes. Right? The government here is so fascist, they know that a jury can nullify the law. That means even if you've broken that law, they say we don't like that law, it's not a good law, we did it for good reason, that's a nullification of the law. They don't want that to be known, because once it gets out to the jury, it's nullified. All the pot offences will be nullified. Right? This is what we're trying to do. It is a very powerful weapon for law reform, and they certainly rigorously try to suppress it. So this will be my test case of whether I can run a nullification trial and not end up in contempt of court.
Where can we find when you're in court? Where can we find when you're in court?
It's October the 14th in Newcastle, but there'll be a bit of noise made the month before. Yeah, we want to crowd them, but especially what we want is families who have their kids taken, and they want them to speak up. Right? It's only silence that keeps the shit going. See, this is why, I mean, Nimbin's done it, because I suppose I'm more active and more proactive But, you know, we sort of cringe under these saliva tears. This is a protest. We should be down there blocking it, pushing it over, wrecking it, right, and making it into a controversy. Like, you can't have a revolution softly. You know, if it's all right, can you let us do this? We're not kids.
If you're keen to do that next year, I'm in.
Hey?
I'm in. If you
Yeah,
do that next
I
year.
reckon we should organise something big next year because I
It won't change, just so we're not having it. Cars drive down, park 100 metres from it, people march down, put masks on. You want us to wear masks? Okay, I'll wear a mask this time. Push it over. Right, I mean, they were planning to bring COVID vaccination to schools. We were organising like a flying squad to attack them because that's how seriously I take it. The people know there's a 20% increase in all-cause morbidity, all-cause death since the COVID vaccination. And there's still fuckwits that are lining up the boosters.
People still push it.
I mean, if you don't think we're in a dark, dangerous spot, you're not paying attention. But at the same time, enjoy it, right? Because you only get a limited lifespan. So, yeah, with all this shit going on, it should be impressive. It won't get you anywhere.
I think we're making progress, though. This is the first time I have not seen a policeman the whole time I've been here. And when I came here the last few days, came down from the hills, Thunderbolt Falls, and the passes of Cannon, Gungus Road, a whole lot of, you know, people, not one police car testing me, breathalyzing me years ago.
It's happened to people, so
And there's so few. There's so few. They're reducing in numbers. So
once you've been to enough of these, there's times when there's like dozens of copies, sex society marching through the
always is
drive.
every year.
There's other times when there's none. That doesn't mean anything. That's
No,
just the local
it's
policy.
never been none. This is the first year it's been
I
none.
saw cops here last night.
Coming down from my place.
Okay.
Yeah, but they're set up the other side of the Shannon somewhere over
They
there.
probably didn't want to go out in the rain, the little fucks. I mean,
They always did before, but I just thought maybe they're diminishing. Maybe
They're on station.
No, it comes and goes.
still when they do it.
Oh, okay.
It's around and not a bit further
I think
out.
because of the old gates and the lights up there,
That's a lot.
area, so they're about so much.
Hey, anyone else want to say anything?
Where are we at? What's DBI's approach? What are they just saying to the rest? All they want to do is worry about the
Listen,
enforcement. That's it. They're not encouraged.
when we first got the licensing agreement, we were under the care of the Department of Health. And it was good when it transferred to DPI. There was a slight reduction in paranoia. But at the moment, the DPI, I mean, you can't blame them. They're casting that role. They're really just a policeman, professional officers and things like that. They test the plans for them. We want them to be proactive, like I described earlier in the talk. We want them to run grow trials. Like I've been to like Professor Bocce in Hungary. He's dead now, but we went there to his farm. Like this is the world famous breeder of Hemp, like the world leading time. So I've learned from the best sort of thing. What they do, they have elite paddocks, like they call it elite paddock, where they grow their best plants, right? And then they have their secondary paddocks where they start folding up, and then the tertiary where they get to a broader. But each year, the elite paddock is selected. Like there might be 1,000 plants there, they'll pick the best 10, and that becomes the elite next year. So each year, compost was like a dynamically produced and improved variety. That's what we want to do, select the trays that we want. And THC shouldn't be part of the selection process. Right? I mean, the sort of fuck up we have with the Italian varieties and stuff. We get a merino level fibre that you can make like the most sort of wonderfully soft clothes over. But it's 1%, 1.2% THC, so you can't have it, right? The THC level should not be tested for unless the agronomists are doing it for their own purposes and for some other reason. It's just a nonsense. And as I said, there has to be an anger that not only is a prohibition put in place 80 years ago, but they're still maintaining it in a watered-down form. There's no moral justification or practical justification for doing that, right? It's very rare that one solution to many, many problems. We've got many, many problems, right? We've got the pollution, we've got the issues with plastics, we've got the issue with omega-3, we've got the issue with pharmaceutical drugs. There's a lot of problems. But if cannabis was descheduled, I don't want law reform, I don't want legalisation or decriminalisation, anything like that. Cannabis were put into a schedule illegally in 1961 by the Americans, basically. It has to simply be taken out of the schedule, and it can then do what it's doing. Right? The illusion the THC is in some way a dangerous drug. It's ridiculous. I mean, if you stack THC and aspirin side by side, which one's the more dangerous? How about safe to the stomach paracetamol? How many paracetamol overdoses do you have to manage versus cannabis overdose? Right? With a cannabis overdose, you say, take less next time, careful with the cookies, you'll be okay with the burn. That's all you have to say. With a Panadol overdose, you've got to run around like a bloody scalded hen trying to put antioxidants into their system to stop liver failure. Right? We live in a world of hypocrites, mongrels and weaklings. I don't want to sound too rabid, but I'm getting a bit sick of the weaklings. You know, that's right. You know, like I said, meat will inherit the earth. They were not. Right? These fucking theologists give it that to keep everyone down. The meat will inherit the earth. They won't. They'll have sandwich in their face. They have their pots rolling. That's as far as I'm concerned. So I don't think one of them meat. And I hope you join me. Yeah, no. Yeah, no, hang on now. No, that's right.
The hemp corp is also late. Sorry, everyone's in it. But it's not even one. Sorry for being late.
Oh, man.
Oh, yeah, the hemp panel hasn't started yet. Andrew's been doing this. So I'll get the sound going.
Oh, what's happening? We're going to talk about when are you going to get a trim up at 11 o'clock?
Yes.
24 hours.
You were saying that you think growing seed is a logical
A start-up because it can be done on a small scale, but only if we have appropriate seed harvesting technology, which is what our major project is at the moment.
So you were saying that about the cone thing that I don't fully understand, but I wanted to ask if you were to harvest hemp and you weren't able to invest in technology, what is suitable to harvest by hand?
You can do it by hand. I mean, I know, I've done it by hand.
But like,
It's not that hard to harvest the hemp by hand. You can use like mowers and scythes and things like that. The threshing and the decortication. I mean, it's good for your soul, it's good for your biceps. After a while, you've had enough of it.
Cleaning.
Yeah, the whole thing. No, it's interesting with hemp that a lot of its problems. It was a major. People don't know this. Hemp was the most grown plant on earth in the 1800s. Hemp fibre was the most traded commodity. The world virtually ran on it. They had oil lamps, all sorts of things, right? But they used slaves to do the decortication, to break the hemp bars, things like that. When the slaves were liberated, it was hard, and they didn't have appropriate machinery. It's all spelled out in the $1 Million Crop. Go watch it on YouTube. The whole sad history of how they derailed our future, and now we're copying the consequences of it. But I mean, we're lucky to have a hemp life on it. Otherwise, I don't know what I'd do. I mean, I'd just get really angry and shoot something. At least here we can be more productive. You know, we can have a future.
in the scenario, you're talking about the cloud.